All right, let's jump right into this explainer. When we look back at the history of the Indian subcontinent, we're really looking at so much more than just a timeline of endless battles. We are looking at the birth of highly sophisticated political and economic systems. These were designed by rulers whose influence was literally so vast that global empires, from the Mughals to the British and Persians, had to stop and recognize their power. Today, we're going to unpack how 10 of these ancient architects laid down the governance and cultural reforms that quite literally shape the world we live in right now. To really get the most out of this, instead of going chronologically, we're going to break it down thematically. We'll start with unifying the subcontinent, then drivers of economic prosperity, architects of cultural heritage, defenders of the realm, and wrap up with shaping modern India. Starting off with part 1, unifying the Indian subcontinent, forging an empire. You know, two wildly different rulers achieved unity through sheer brilliant statecraft. Take Chandragupta Maurya. Mentored by the legendary strategist Chanakya, he pulled together a bunch of fragmented, smaller kingdoms into one unstoppable force to topple the ruling Nanda Empire. Then, flash forward centuries later, to Shivaji Maharaj forging the Maratha Empire. His political reform was totally groundbreaking for the time because of his progressive, secular administration. He respected all religions equally and actually had Muslim warriors holding high-ranking positions in his own administration. It just goes to show that real, lasting unification takes both strategic alliances and seriously inclusive governance. Then you have Samudragupta, who was so utterly dominant, he's known as the Napoleon of India. This guy expanded a massive empire, from the Himalayas down to the Narmada River, and from the Brahmaputra all the way across to the Yamuna. But the big takeaway here isn't just the sheer amount of land he conquered. By doing this, he created a secure, massive geographic bloc. He basically built a shield against foreign powers, allowing Indian civilization to just thrive internally. Which perfectly sets up part 2, drivers of economic prosperity, the golden ages. Because look, all that wealth and economic prosperity, that wasn't a happy accident. It was a highly deliberate policy choice. Think about Harshavardhana rolling out major economic improvements across North India during his 41-year reign. Or Chandragupta Maurya. He didn't just stop at expanding his borders. He immediately pivoted his focus to massive post-expansion economic progress. They actively fostered local growth and clamped down on controlling vital trade. And speaking of controlling trade, this is a wild fact. Under Raja Chola I, absolutely no trade could happen in the Indian Ocean without the Cholas' explicit permission. He turned his dynasty into an absolute maritime economic powerhouse, extending his policies all the way down to Sri Lanka to effectively monopolize those commercial sea routes. If you wanted to do business there, you had to go through him. But true economic statecraft wasn't just about making the state rich. It was about the people. Samudragupta's 40-year reign shows us an administration focused heavily on equitable wealth distribution. He specifically designed things so that comforts, luxuries, and resources were evenly provided to all of his subjects. It was a holistic approach where economic success actively funded religion, literature, and art. And that brings us to part 3, architects of cultural heritage, beyond the battlefield. Now, this quote is absolutely incredible, mostly because of who wrote it. The Mughal Emperor Babur, a rival founder, wrote in his own autobiography that Krishnadevaraya was the most courageous and powerful king. To have your rivals in absolute awe of your influence really tells you something about the power of the Vijayanagara Empire. And Krishnadevaraya channeled that immense power into a massive architectural revival. His first move? Actively rebuilding ancient temples that had been destroyed by previous invaders. From there, he constructed the Grand Rama Temple and the stunning 1,000-pillar temple. He literally used architecture to restore and expand the cultural identity of his people. And we can't forget that these leaders were profound intellectuals too. King Harshavardhana was a playwright who personally authored classic works like Ratnavali. Emperor Ashoka funded the world-renowned universities at Taxila and Nalanda, turning his empire into a global center for learning, and he built the famous Sanchi Stupa. And Raja Chola I, he built over 100 temples, including the breathtaking Tanjore Shiva Temple, which stands today as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They built the literal pillars of global education and thought. Moving right along to part 4, defenders of the realm, unmatched martial prowess. Because sometimes, to protect your reforms, you just have to fight. Imagine the sheer courage of King Porus. Alexander the Great arrives with 50,000 troops, having basically conquered the known world.
While other kings surrendered, Porus stood his ground with only about 20,000 men. He was heavily outnumbered, but his fierce resistance earned Alexander's deep respect, resulting in a peace treaty that literally halted the invasion.
Then you have tactical visionaries like Shivaji Maharaj, who pioneered guerrilla warfare in India. Imagine being just 18 years old and building an army to take on massive traditional Mughal forces. His highly mobile, hit-and-run combat tactics were so revolutionary and unpredictable that even the biggest empires were terrified of engaging him in the field. Okay, I want you to picture the number 81. Just 81 kilograms. That is the exact weight of just the spear carried by Maharana Pratap, the 7-foot 5-inch giant of the Sisodia dynasty. The stats on Maharana Pratap are just legendary. He wielded 2 swords weighing a combined 208 kilograms, all while wearing 72 kilograms of armor. But his physical strength was matched only by his unbreakable willpower. Refusing to submit to Emperor Akbar, he literally gave up his kingdom for freedom, living in the forest and surviving on bread made of grass. And his chivalry? It was so profound he would famously hand his own sword to an unarmed enemy mid-combat to keep the fight fair, often riding his fiercely loyal horse Chetak. Here's another staggering number for you: 17. That is exactly how many times Prithviraj Chauhan defeated the invader Muhammad Ghori in battle: 17 times. It was only on the 18th attempt that he was captured, tragically betrayed by his own father-in-law Jai Chand. Yet, incredibly, even after being blinded in captivity, Prithviraj's skills were so unmatched he managed to take down Ghori using only sound-guided arrows. Finally, let's look at part 5, Shaping Modern India, the Enduring Legacy. Emperor Ashoka's life is probably one of history's most profound political shifts. He starts out as a ruthless conqueror, reportedly killing 99 of his own brothers for the throne, and launching Digvijay, which were military conquests from Afghanistan to Burma. But then, the sheer devastation of the Kalinga War triggered a total transformation. He pivoted entirely to Dhammavijay, embracing Buddhism, peace, and completely restructuring his government to rule for the welfare of the common people. And the echoes of these rulers are everywhere today. I mean, it is truly breathtaking to realize that the visual identity of modern India was carved thousands of years ago. Ashoka's chakra sits right at the very center of the Indian national flag, and his 4 lions serve as the official national emblem. Shivaji's secular, inclusive administration perfectly models the core democratic values we talk about today. And those architectural marvels from the Chola and Mauryan eras, they are the beating heart of India's cultural identity and UNESCO heritage right now. So I hope this explainer really sparked your curiosity. It makes you wonder how much of our modern world was secretly designed by the administrative and defensive reforms of these ancient kings. When you think about the symbols you see every day and the governance structures you live under, which of these rulers' legacies actually impacts your life the most today? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.